All right, folks, we're going to talk about lesson 12 today. So open your books up to lesson 12. And we're going to talk about using graphs to compare relationships. Before we get to that point, let's do this little number talk to warm up with. Without your calculator, so it says do it mentally. Do you remember how to find products and quotients of fractions? Product meaning the multiplication and quotient meaning a division. How do we multiply two fractions together? How do we divide two fractions? If you don't remember, Google it. Figure out how to multiply and how to divide fractions. All right, for this activity, we have Diego, Mai, and Tyler going from the ticket booth to the bumper car. So they're at the amusement park, they're going to the bumper cars, and they're leaving the ticket booth. It says use each description to complete the table to represent that person's journey. So let's look at Diego first. And we talked about Diego in the last lesson. Same idea. Now Diego is going to the bumper cars. And what we know about Diego is that it took 30 seconds for him to go 50 meters. So let's figure out, using some division, how far he could go in 15 seconds. Now we could do this a few different ways. We could find that constant of proportionality, or if we check this out, 15 times 2 is 30. So whatever this number is, times 2 would give me 50, or 50 divided by 2 would give me this number. I think that's going to be 25. How far did Diego go in 0 seconds? Well, in 0 seconds, he was 0 meters away from the ticket booth. How far would he have gone in 1 second? So I'm going to leave you to figure that out. Remember what we do, we divide this way. Now for Lynn left the ticket booth at the same time as Tyler. She ran at a steady pace and arrived at the bumper cars 20 seconds later. So let's see, she left the same time as Tyler. Oh, hold on a second. I just realized that the Tyler they're talking about was the Tyler from the last lesson that we did. It wasn't Diego in the last lesson, it was Tyler. So what we're going to do is we're going to go find Tyler's table after we finish Lynn and Mai as well. Okay, so Lynn left the ticket booth at the same time as Tyler. She ran at a steady pace and arrived at the bumper cars after 20 seconds. So that 50, we know that 50, that should keep showing up here, right? That 50 is the the distance away from the ticket booth, the distance that the bumper cars away from the ticket booth. We can find Lynn's rate by dividing. Or I could say here, let's see, 25 times 2 got me to that 50. So 20 divided by 2 should get me 10 here. Again, after 0 seconds, Lynn had gone 0 meters. How far would Lynn have gone after 1 second? And again, I'll have you find that out by doing that division, that 50 divided by 20, or the 25 divided by 10, and that should go right there. Now we're going to talk about Mai, and Mai is a little bit interesting. Mai's relationship is not proportional. Mai left the ticket booth 10 seconds later than Tyler. Her steady jogging enabled her to catch up with Tyler just as he arrived at the bumper cars. So here's what we know. Mai arrived at the bumper cars just at the same time that Tyler arrived at the bumper cars. But interestingly for Mai, she stayed at the ticket booth for 10 seconds. So for Mai, she had gone 0 seconds, or she'd gone 0 meters, 10 seconds into waiting there, right? So maybe she's paying for her tickets. She waits 10 seconds before she starts to leave. So after 10 seconds, she had gone 0 meters. Now her rate is 50 divided by 40. 50 divided by 40 is 1.25 meters per second. So how long did it take her to go those 25 meters? What would go in that box? See if you can figure that out. All right, so what I've done is I've gone back to the last lesson, and I'm going to write down Tyler's numbers here for us on the side. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put each person's time versus distance on this graph. And I'm, through the magic of my app here, I'm going to use different colors for each person. So for Tyler, I'll use orange. Tyler went 0 meters in 0 seconds. After 20 seconds, he had gone 25 meters. After 40 seconds, he had gone 50 meters. And I can draw myself a nice line for Tyler. And I'm going to label that as well so I know who's who here. Then we have Diego. I'll do Diego in blue. Diego also at 0 seconds was 0 meters. After 15 seconds, he was 25 meters. I want you to make your graph along with me. After 30 seconds, he was at 50 meters. So we notice on the graph here, they reached the same number of meters at different times, right? Who got there faster is going to be our question. And then we will do who's next? Is it Lynn? Lynn is next, and I'll do Lynn in green. So Lynn, after 0 seconds, was 0 meters. After 10 seconds was 25 meters. And after 20 seconds was 50 meters. Who's the fastest of the three so far? So this is Lynn. This was Diego. And then we have Mai. So Mai's kind of interesting because her graph looks a little different. I'll do Mai in purple. With Mai, after 10 seconds, she was at 0 meters. After 40 seconds, she was at 50 meters. So she and Tyler ended up at the same place at the same time. We draw Mai's line like this, and we notice hers is not a proportional relationship because it doesn't go through 0, 0, right? We notice a couple things here. Tyler's line and Mai's line, they end up at the same place. But notice Diego's line and Mai's line, I believe, are parallel lines. They have the same rate. We notice that with their numbers. Check those numbers out. Or I'm sorry, Tyler's line and Mai's line, those are the same rates, okay? So we're careful here. We notice with these graphs that the person who gets to the 50 meter mark first is Lynn. It took less seconds, fewer seconds for Lynn to get there than it did for Diego or for Tyler or for Mai. So we think about these graphs and who's going faster and who's going at different speeds. They're interesting little things to look at. So check your graph out and notice some things there. The question becomes which person is moving most quickly and how is that reflected in the graph? Okay, so let's think about that that question. Write down a note or two for me there. All right, we'll run through these next couple questions really quickly. It says meteoroid Perseid 245 and asteroid X travel through the solar system. The graph shows the distance each traveled after a given point in time. And it says, is asteroid X traveling faster or slower than Perseid 245? How do we know? So let's take a look here. I'm looking at time on the x-axis versus distance on the y-axis. If I were to draw a line, vertical line down through those two paths, through those two proportional relationships, here's what I know. For the same amount of time, Perseid 245 has gone a shorter distance than asteroid X. So I can say that asteroid X is traveling faster because asteroid X went a further distance in the same amount of time. Now that was if I drew a vertical line. What if I drew a horizontal line through this relationship? Well, that would show me that the first one I hit there was asteroid X. Asteroid X has gone the same distance that Perseid 245 went, only in a shorter amount of time. So either way, if I draw a horizontal line or a vertical line through that relationship, I can tell that asteroid X is traveling faster. Now this next question is similar to the last one. It says the graph shows the relationship, shows the price of the relationship of a piece of rope, of two different lengths of rope. If you buy $1 of each kind of rope, which one will be longer? Explain how you know. Well, the price goes this way, right? So let's say, I don't know where $1 is, but let's say here's $1. If I sketch a little vertical line across there, which one would be longer? Well, let's see, for $1, this one's length is here. For $1, this one's length is here. So that nylon rope would be longer if it cost $1. All right, that's all I think I'm going to do with you today. What I would like you to do is read through that lesson summary and highlight some things, okay? We talk about graphs and their steepness. The steeper the graph is, the higher, the faster it's rising in a shorter amount of time, okay? Read through that lesson summary, and then we'll work on the practice problems for lesson 12. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye. We'll see you in Zoom tomorrow.